هتكون بعنوان تأثير
Fourth generation war. The fourth generation war is a term including of a communication revolution. History taught us that any newly introduced technology, the meantime, an engineer in the Egyptian engineer might be using it as two sides of the coin, harmful uses and useful uses. 15 years ago, human beings knew about the social networks as a new development, and with experience we learned a world disease that happens to those who over-exaggerate the usage of social networks, and it is known as FOMO. We will watch this documentary.
على مر تاريخ الإنسان
of mankind. Communication was always preoccupying him. At the beginning, the word came. The human being came up with language to express himself. Communication became a daily activity for millions of individuals and not just a dream. By time, the human being found out diseases related to this communication, a lot of diseases and problems, the simplest of which is the question, those, or do they have time for this, that, and these? Why we are now slaves to social media, and this space increases every day. Few months ago, in an Indian state, a young man called Shifa, who is 26 years old, getting closer to him, and Shifa kept smiling so that the selfie would be better. Shifa was able to survive this accident, but of course he had injured. This video on Facebook. Most of the people now have smartphones. Fear of missing out. It means that the whole time I'm checking the social media, checking my mobile phone for fear that there is an important. So it is equal to slavery, as if something is controlling you, controlling your mindset. For 5 years, I am posting my daily events, and my hands move even more than my tongue because I keep typing and texting. Would I Muhammad is a young man like other young people who found that he is misusing social media. The difference is that Muhammad acknowledged this, he admitted it, and decided to change. The whole time I was following Facebook, so I decided to go to a psychiatrist. But unfortunately, our culture in they would laugh at me. The problem of this culture and the fact that the community does not understand addiction to social media made us decide to have difficulty with other nationalities who are using social media. This session would focus on the idea of how can we benefit from social media without
software as well, just different names, but the function is the same. So people share their information. Or Kuaishou. So there's like the app that you took very short for it. It's like Instagram. People always find a way to entertain themselves, maybe through different software, but the form is the same. is that it's entertaining. You pay a lot of attention to it, and
it's called Contacting, In Touch, and a lot of people from another country. I used to, if tell the truth, but a lot of years ago I understood that I wasted my time on it, and I decided no, and now I use it only 2 times per week, I think.
تجارب التعافي
The
أو التعامل
experiences
الإيجابي
of recovery and positive dealing with social media that Muhammad heard about during the session gave him hope.
Hands, we can also spread. Handshake symbolize this.
في أوروبا والدول
In Europe and developed countries, they very much fear FOMO and they frankly talk about it as a danger to the civilization development that may FOMO or they are on their way to addiction.
5 hours, but it can fluctuate to like 7 hours, maybe more, depending on what I'm doing. I don't think people tend to like just browse, so
I'm not sure 100%, but I think on average up to 8-9 hours, but weekdays definitely 5-6 hours.
These days I try to just avoid it because I'm scrolling through things. It's become the same way with Facebook. Sometimes I'll get distracted by a photo album, but that's generally how I picture social media when that switch has been flipped the other way around.
There are 3 billion individuals out of 7.5 billion who use social networks. About 2 billion of them have accounts on Facebook. The danger is not the pattern of behavior between people in this virtual world. They are bullying each other, and that's why we have the Yellow Palace, and we use it to refer this Blue Palace to this Yellow Palace. You will find that there is no big difference. These are just outside the hospital, these are inside the hospital. By time, the more I share a post, I'm not just sharing more the likes, the more the comments. Unfortunately, this gives me a positive feeling and makes me feel important
And gaining happiness, but in fact you are just getting drained into this fake world.
Different forums. Don't miss out on this. Watch right now. You won't believe what's to FOMO, and you will be in the hands that are trying to control the world, sometimes for a campaign, sometimes against the campaign. So long as you're saying bad, there can be no positive news in light of the sea of bad news.
Fake news. Is it the truth? Should I believe in it, or should I think before? Because a lot of opinions can be biased, and people finally understand it and try to.
First time since about 2-3 years we come out with the expression fake news. Okay, at least public realizes now more and more everything.
With it is that the news spreads so fast that even before the authorities can step in and take some action, things have already gone bad.
واستسهال الأخبار المضللة عن وسائل التواصل
against innocent people, and here monitoring and refuting units promote and spreads them.
دايما الحقيقة والواقع
The truth We are trying also to clarify the truth. That's why we said that the importance of this observatory is to refute the lies and to clarify them. We decided that there is electricity outage in Qasr al-Aini. We want to double check this information because people talk about it. Okay, I'll check it. I contacted the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health to check this piece of information for me, and I will use another mechanism because we're talking about Qasr al-Aini Hospital and it is in Cairo Governorate, so I will check with someone else to save time because the rumor spreads quickly. This rumor that there is electricity outage, especially in babies incubators, the thing that defeats the false, it's a rumor.
غير صحيح تماما.
It's untrue. Okay, thank you, doctor.
جهزي نفي حالا الكلام ده
Now write a piece of news to refute it. We try to be faster than them in clarifying the truth, and I always say that no rumor defeats the truth, as the president said. The destruction and the rumors would never destroy the development, the progress and the construction. That's why we will defeat them all. Since the beginning of the world, as everything is developing, evil has developed also, and in the world of social media, now it's able to make bad use of FOMO. The phone is not used only for phone calls, but it from this window. And what is your role, construction or destruction?
And have a good life. Don't be addicted and have a good life.
Don't be addicted and have a good life.
ما تدمنش السوشيال ميديا.
Do not be an addict to social media. To ask the panelists to come to the stage to start the session. The Youth Conference under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, President of the Republic. What we have seen in this documentary raised the number of right now is how can we protect ourselves from fake news, especially that Facebook, the on finding solution to fake news, but unfortunately things are aggravating according to the studies and the outcome. Huwaida Mustafa, the dean of psychology, and she talked in the documentary. Engineer Hassan Hamid, a specialist in the field of social media, and Mr. Hossein Kamel, the development researcher and the announcer in Radio Masr, and Mr. Tamer Al-Khashab, the TV director. We'll start with Dr. Huwaida. In traditional media, in the faculty of mass communication that teach the students who work in media, there are specific tools that you give them to be able to distinguish between real news and fake news. This is a very important question, because if you would know how many fake news are there now, according to some of the polls and the studies, we found that 83% of the users of internet are subject to fake news. And in fact, unfortunately, Egypt is ranked on top of the countries facing this issue of fake news. In the previous session, terrorism is a problem. Now these misleading news are used everywhere. If you would read, they found that they are all in the political and economic arenas. This means posting these false news on social media, especially that these true information it does not spread as the fake news do. So these fake news are used by social networks to destroy countries internally and to mislead people. Confronting terrorism, we find that the terrorist groups start using the cyber world and the virtual world to go on with these wars. You asked me a very important question regarding whether there are certain mechanisms and tools that we teach the students on how to detect false news. Of course, we need a media culture, and this is what the community lacks. How can we deal with the social networks? Education only, but unfortunately we used them for other purposes. So we made them equal to legalized sources of information and news. I cannot compare the traditional media to social media as a source of information. Firstly, because they do not follow any standards, no censorship. The users are individuals and not institutions who follow certain professional rules. And also there are no regulations regulating these networks. In media education, it is so important to focus on these the students how to use these websites and networks, what are their limitations, what are their potentials, and in the documentary we have seen to what extent it is important for every young cautious not to use them as a source of information and news, because when you consider them to be a source of information and news, you will find misleading information. And right now, as you mentioned, there are programs that facilitate for us tracing the information to know what its source is, and there are now international institutions who are and we need just to introduce them to the people to raise their awareness. And the community institutions should all cooperate together to raise the awareness on how can we use the social networks, how to check the I think that we need all to work together on this right now. Before moving on to Dr. Raghba, you used a very important term, educational media. Abroad, they started talking about this term and saying that it is one of the needs of the community. Would you please give us a quick definition of education, media education? This is a very important question. Media education was a science. But right now we have this curriculum even in schools, so that every student would know what are the potentials of each social network and how can we rationalize the use of them. Now we are asking people to be rational and not hastily share any. You can say think before you share. Yes, think before you share. And now these are slogans, of course, that are used by a lot of people on Facebook. Before you share these news or information. Dr. Raghba, you are specialized in cybersecurity and you are chairing the cybersecurity unit to use available free tools in this space, they are there strong. How does this happen? The terrorist groups recently started using the cyberspace. Besides the military defeats the terrorist organizations had, which made them lose a lot of their strongholds in the cyber world, because there is no enough security measures. I will focus here on three, then becoming a communication space, to inculcate a certain idea about themselves. ISIS, for example, before getting into Iraq, they spread geographical areas without resistance. So it is terrorism in the cyber world, and it is a form of terrorism on the ground. Engineer Ahmed Anas specialized in cybersecurity. I want to ask a very important question. While I'm sitting here with my phone next to me, whether it is on or off, I'm on air me at any moment. The system that can never be hacked is a non-existing system. It just depends on who is trying to do the hacking. Let me say that during the past 72 hours there was the SMS hacker, and this is a developed hacking system through an SMS that you would send to a person, and then you will be able to hack his mobile phone. Through simple tools, like for example, while you're sitting in an airport or a cafe, and instead of using your internet, you use this free Wi-Fi. This person who made this fake Wi-Fi, he would be able to hack your mobile phone. Another famous thing is that the hacker would send a link, you would click this link, and then he would be able to hack your phone. This depends, of course, on whether your mobile phone is secured or not. Is that you might download an application from the store. You are downloading, for example, a program for drawing, and there is a mic, for example, on this program. So how would you draw? Part of it, or you can give your mobile phone to your son. He would play with the mobile phone, and he would like a game, download the game, and maybe this game would take information from your mobile phone. These are the spread tools through the mobile phone, or more than you know about yourself. The amount of information he would be able to get about you besides the micro. A saying goes, so long as the commodity is for free, then you and your information are this commodity. So we need to always think, what is the use of this tool? He might know also talk to, and even he would know the history of all your calls without full hacking. Just he would be able to watch your photos, calls, and send this to centers that would analyze all this data and information, and also then categorize and classify people. He would say, for example, that this group of people deserves developing the hacking, those do not deserve. So they are doing collective hacking and not just individual. One of the things we can use to limit these dangers and attacks is to be cautious. Okay, before the solutions, I would like to make a practical test. We have here a large number of people. Even before they click I agree when they are downloading any program or application, do you read the conditions? domains, and they start the blackmail here. It might be financial blackmail, sexual, forcing you to do espionage because he knows now everything about you and he knows your weak points. There are simple things that the individual can start doing to reduce such dangers, like for example being cautious, as if you are giving your key to someone. Who would you give your key and who wouldn't take your cyber security for natural people? My family, my co-workers, because this information is our national security. When we come to look at it, we will find that it is not also the information of one individual, but the information of a group. The same cyber security, and we have with us my mobile phone can spy on me. If the mic is on, they would hear what I'm saying. They would know certain information and analyze them. I read that there are certain programs that try to program me, myself, through the information about me. They try to change my content. I can say that it's not just that I can draw a whole pattern for your life and everything about you, as Engineer Ahmed said, and I will make a small scenario. How can be an organization, and this organization wants to control people or make people join it? The first thing, of course, it starts by identifying the sample it will work on. Am I targeting young people? How would I reach out to those people? Would I get to them through talking about racism that is, for example, spread in certain countries, or the fact that they disagree with a certain political regime, or because they are by nature extremists? So I will collect all the data and information I need to promote my ideas. Next, I will use the technology. Using technology would enable me to achieve the highest results of analyzing this data and information through the recommendation engine. What is this recommendation engine? If we would go downtown looking for mobile phones, or I would ask a friend, I need to buy a mobile phone. Once I open my mobile phone, I will find only commercials about mobile phones. And I would find also the mobile phones in the financial range I'm targeting. So they know you? Yes, of course, they know me. Next step, the recommendation system is ready with the data. Then I will start promoting my product. What is my product? My product might be one of three: video, or a blogger with articles, or news, or games. Games spreading certain ideas or messages, like for example Salil al-Sawari. This game was trying to tell you that you are a fighter and you will start hitting the cars of the Iraqi army and the US army. So I've developed my sample, made my recommendation engine, and he wrote a comment and I replied to this comment, so he started writing another comment. So you have moved from a random sample to a target sample. is the social engineering. What is social engineering? Simply, we are selling ourselves. I write, for example, that today I have attended this seminar on so I read this book, I met this person. So all this data would be collected and analyzed and psychologically analyze you, and then I would have a knowledge basis for Mr. Mahmoud. I will know that his weak points are 1, 2, 3. So I'm able to control without even meeting me. Yes, up till now we have not met. I have brainwashed you and not using a physician or a doctor. I used a tool that was already trained on millions of individuals. So the stage, the final stage, Mr. Mahmoud now is under control. Any message I will send to him, I know how even he would reply to any message I will send to him. I need only to identify the communication tool and the role he will play in the system. The role might not be that he would be a real fighter, but he might promote the idea, just like that. Said that up till now we have not met. The communication now has taken different forms. I'm not going to use the secret ink to send you a message or send you a message on the old communication forms. They now have 3 different forms. The first is the SMS voice programs, or what they call end-to-end encryption. They do encryption from the sender to the recipient, and also the game platforms online. And last, the bloggers. You start writing replies or words. So in the end, people might tell me you are exaggerating, you are saying something unrealistic, you are making a conspiracy. On the photo is Mohammed Khalifa. He is a graduate of Toronto University in Canada. He is studying computer science. And Mohammed Khalifa was working in a company that was a partner to a company in the US, and he lives in Canada. And he is a Canadian from an Ethiopian origin. Mohammed Khalifa did not carry a weapon. He used to make the voice over for ISIS videos, and because of Mohammed the message, so he was arrested and executed. So danger is not far. The second person is Casper and Daniela Green, his wife. There was a rapper from Germany. They married in 2015 in Syria. Daniela Green was studying psychology. So I think so he is rich. How they were influenced by the social media? Through racism. This person has suffered from a form of racism. So the third one is Linda, the German or ISIS sniper. Linda was 16 years old and she went to Syria. What was the problem Linda had? She was studying in university languages and translation. She did not have any problem. It was just that she started watching videos and bloggers sniper and was used also for the soldiers in ISIS, and now she came back to Germany and she is under rehabilitation for her re-inclusion in the community. He is known for Nice incident. He drove the truck over people, and he had a criminal record. So he made several crimes before. Why we're talking about Mohammed Lahoush? Because his story was how, in the first place, he communicated with his emir, as they call him. This was through a game network, and because of this, the company producing this machine made some games to work offline only to limit the game. Thank you, Engineer Hassan. A lot of fearful information. Let's go back to things that have to do with the documentary we've watched. We're talking about a psychological problem. The world paid attention to it and started talking about it. Maybe we are. And I found that during the last week, in one of the websites, it was mentioned that Facebook is studying now limiting the like meter, because the like meter affects the mental health of the individual. When the person finds that the likes are increasing, is not to show the likes meter because it negatively influences people. The likes affect in two ways. The person who posts the message is waiting for likes, so they might come up with news because they are addicted to having a large number of likes, and this can be the source of rumors. The second aspect, people who hear the rumor likes, this goes to a psychological theory, which is the collective thinking. You would say true and I should believe it. That's why limiting the like meter is so important in these two ways. We have studied also in sociology, looking at comments related to desperation spreading, lacking confidence in the government, in the state, in the community. So this individual now is in stress. So sometimes he might suffer from desperation. Why would I have hope to change things? Why would I have hope to put? So this is a psychological pressure on the community, directly and indirectly. Does this mean that those who use social media in an addictive manner should go to a hospital and talk to a physician or a psychiatrist? Yes, of course, a lot of affected, not only spending long hours on social media, but they do not want to work, they do not want to live with the family, they do not want to do anything positive because they are mainly focusing on the virtual world. Like Muhammad posts that have thousands of likes. So long as people agree with it, bad news might be a fabricated news or a rumor or partially a rumor and partially true. We have two important parts. The first, bad news are not always a rumor. Bad news might be bad news, and people are ready to accept bad news. So I will read this news to avoid it in the future. The rumor is not totally something fake. It has news. It might be something that people are talking about. It might be a figure, a video, an image. If I would say that 20% is true, news need to be put in soil of suspicion and fear. Why fear? Because the fear is one of the instincts we have as human beings, and throughout history it led to a lot of things like wars. So fearing something helps you control people. When I saw this seed of rumor in the soil, they should heritage that loves stories. We love telling stories. Secondly, there are existing channels, different types of channels that are paving the way for rumors and false news. As the friend said, spreading doubts and suspicion in the media for a long period, like even in anything, do not have 100% trust in what they say. So I'm sowing the seed now for it to grow. The second thing we have is the inclination to accepting the rumors about our enemies or people who we are competing with. So we accept the rumor about these. The real problem with the social networks is that it is a tool, a guaranteed tool. These are the components of a rumor since the science of rumors appeared a long time ago. But what social networks made is that it gave the opportunity for this to happen quickly, widely, and reach to each and every individual. Why? Because now you are standing at the end of a long tunnel as a recipient. Anything goes into this tunnel. Channels that did not exist back then, but they are there here. When we build this news, as I've just explained, some truth, of course there should be some truth and some false news, then you would receive this rumor not only from one tunnel, from a lot of tunnels, a website, a web page, a video, a YouTube channel, a citizen or the influencer institution. They might have the media regulations and rules, some responsibility, some accountability. Have the desire to feel powerful, to earn also. So they are ready to do anything, and there is a very important rule in building a rumor. The rumor always talks about simple people. Are supposed to be the walls protecting people from rumors, but this rule is no longer there. It's the influencers who now incubate and support the rumors. Why? Because they are looking for the likes. They want more likes to feel more powerful. And also when there are certain moment to something shocking, it turns it into a daily ritual, something like worshipping. You are doing daily this ritual. That sometimes when there are no stories, we find some people saying, what are we going to talk about today? We need to have a controversial issue to keep on discussing. The most dangerous things about the influencers is they are under the terrorism of getting out of the herd, because the momentum, the path that people have liked. If he's a comedian, he would go on with the comedy. If you're talking about a beliefs, and this happens. So you find that he does not talk. People would say, me.
مش عايز اقول اكتر من الارهاب الحقيقي لانه
It is, it might be even as dangerous as the real terrorism. He would do so. Let's send him to Dr. Dino. Let's move on to Mr. Hassan Hamid. He is specialized in the field of social media. I know that you have a nice presentation to certain reasons. Fell a prey to the rumors. They will hear a rumor and they learned that it is a rumor, so they would believe the next rumor, and then they found that it is false news, then he would believe the next. And what is the tactic that is used here?
هو تكتيك لصناعة الوعي الزائف.
is creating false awareness.
خلينا ما نطولش قوي في الكلام النظري، يعني خلينا
And
نتكلم
let's
عملي.
not talk theoretically, let's talk practically. I will explain certain things to you now about water that we daily use and drink. Do you know what 100% of the people who drink water die?
هل تعلم إن المية هي
Do you know
المكون
that water
الأساسي
is the main component of pesticides and herbicides? Do you know that 100% of the terrorists drink water? Do you know that water is the main reason for drowning?
يعني شعوركم حوالين المية دلوقتي بيتهيألي اختلف شوية.
So I think you have a different feeling now about is true and not new. We already know them.
لكن الحقيقة إن ربط اسم المية هي إزاي قلت الخبر ده؟
How did I say this news or piece? The false awareness about water. I've related it to death terrorists. So let's see the practical application of this in the headlines. This is a headline that I've read 2 days ago, and you can see the quotations. The government is financing the train in the administrative capital from the money of the public, as if from the how I said it and putting the marks made this impression. Mandela impression is known in psychology. Mandela impression in brief has to do with Mandela leader. A lot of people were 100% confident that he died in prison and that they saw part of his funeral, although we know that he was released from prison. People who had doubts about this. You said that you have seen your funeral yourself. Although I know the truth, but I want to be able to change all these people, as Mr. Hossam was just saying, that it's the herd that is driving me. I cannot go against all those people. Of people swearing that they saw, for example, the angel Gabriel in Rabbah. They saw nothing, but they heard about it. So how can you say that this did not happen? And this is very easy to be done in social media because the source of information, it is very easy to create a herd to say this false or true information in the same context, in the same way. Let's see another practical application on the new Suez Canal. Once they started constructing it, a piece of news said that it is a false project. And then started talking about a year ago, after the construction of Suez Canal, they found a basin in the northern coast. And they found the whale, and they said that it's Suez Canal that has affected the marine life. So these are both true information, but how did you use a real information to
الى حد ما برغم من ان هو وانا بقوله دلوقتي بسيط جدا.
Although it seems to be simple and trivial, but at that time I found a lot of people well educated on social media who asked for putting an end to this project, saying why do we need Suez Canal? We started finding whales in the northern coast. So in fact, when we look at the revenues of new Suez Canal, we can know how useful have seen yourself, but you will keep talking about the whale. Finally, I would like to say a nice piece of news. You know all these headlines. Watch before it is deleted. The AUC studied how people receive this click data, and they found that so they got used to doubting any information, and this leads to the viewership influence. You might have nothing accordingly. And I would like to say that in 2011 and before 2011 the Egyptians did not know about social media that much, and now those people who were not involved in everything learned to have doubts about the news before began, because of changing the awareness of the people, even with the spread of the fake awareness. Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Now the last speaker, Mr. Tamer Al-Khashab, the TV director. How do you receive all the fake news that you have heard about here? How are you able to distinguish between fake news and real news? Are you trained? Saying that everything is a rumor and there are real, true news on social media that talks about negative things that we can avoid and solve, especially if it is something negative about an achievement. This is the social media that would talk to us about a negative bridge, and after a year and go visit the bridge, I will find the problem about it. So I collect the information, the data I have, and do not know where I would show it. I have no other place to show it except the social media. I have with me here a flash memory with real problems. Like for example, the housing project in Dahshur. After a year, I found so how would have we known about this except through the social media? Excuse me, Your Excellency, but the President, let's watch this USB drive.
حد يجي ياخدها منك دلوقتي. طيب اوكي يعني هتتقرض. طيب جاي لك حد.
Someone will come take it to show it.
يا تامر انت كويس؟
لا تمام. تامر, are you okay? Yes, I am.
بس يعني عشان نستفاد لصالح والله يا فندم، يعني للصالح العام يعني.
This is for the public interest.
هي انت رقم واحد، خليك هتنقلها 3 عليها مواد كتير.
It has a lot of material on it. I go back to Dr. Raghda because I promised her to get back to her and ask you able to make the management, and this served them to take footages while they are the social networks for funding and financing their I find that ISIS in 2014 issued a document saying that there are religious opinions to enable us to finance the organization apart from the unbelieving governments and states. And they said that Sri Lanka attacks were financed through bitcoins or the virtual coins. You can target a nuclear power station threatening the national security of the country and the economy of the country. The problem with cyber terrorism is that I do not know who launched these attacks. So I cannot attribute these attacks to anyone. We'll watch the flash memory in 1 minute. If conventional terrorism means that the target would be at a certain place, this is not the case. Country to affect its national economy. I do not have to do this directly. And they launch the cyber attack. Great development. And finally, I'm avoiding any mistakes. I learned that the flash memory is ready to be watched. You will tell us what do you want us to watch. These are things that I have seen. Video 1. These are the new houses built by the army. You can see how they look like. You can see the rifts in these buildings, and nobody have lived in these. Gracious is written wrongly. You can see the rift. Nobody have lived in them up till now. You can see the stairs. These stairs are supposed to be still new. Are these new buildings? Long live Egypt. Here you can see that the painting fell off, and in the Dahshur project it's not just a matter of painting that fell off. They are restoring the pillars of the building, and this is Road al-Farag Bridge that has been recorded in Guinness Records. The glass has broken. I'm showing these videos to hold people accountable. What else do you have, Tamer? That's it. You have watched the video and you've believed it, and we had with us experts from the media and they believed the video. This video is untrue. It's a video that I made myself. All these rifts are not really there. We have used new technologies. Let's watch the rest of the things, Tamer. The Egyptian citizen is targeted through these things so that he would psychologically be frustrated. We will see now the making, and we will show other examples. We will show Mr. Tamer, are there other files?
في فايلات كتير.
Yes, a lot of files.
في فيديو تاني بعد ده.
There is another video that shows the making of Road al-Farag bridge.
كوبري 100 على فكرة. دي طريقة من طرق الاحتيال.
This is one of the methods that the evil channels are using to target the Egyptian citizen, and we also do a mic that wants us to hear a certain thing, and since now there is the making of voice and images through the editing, we are only any achievement that would be done won't make you happy, because they would try to stop it. They want to be able, so he will target you on the enemy channels that are broadcasted from outside Egypt. The enemy did not stop war or give countries by our hands, lose confidence in the country and not feel any achievement. Mr. Tamer, we totally appreciate what you said, but the president asked, are there other videos? So let's watch all the videos. Now we will watch other videos that focus on an institution like the police or the army. Video number 5. I do not know who is driving this car, but he has no car plate and he wrote the Pasha of Egypt. Where would I post this video? And we pay our taxes and we pay fine for the traffic for him to write this. And this is in the new settlement. This was a video that was posted on a web page. I had doubts about this video because I found 1,000. And you can see the comments on the video, how fearful they are. We can see the comments on the next video. We are frustrated of racism and corruption. I feel that there is no hope and it would never be better. Country of chaos, no law to hold these people accountable. The country of favoritism and nepotism. May Allah support us.
لازم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل دي بت.
في فيديو تاني يا استاذ تامر؟
Are there other videos?
دي تعليقات حقيقية مش.
Yes, these were real comments.
بس عشان نوضح لحضراتكم الصوت يعني.
And we are just reading them.
عشان ما اقولش كلام مش حقيقي. تعالى نشوف لو احنا
Let's see if we want to make such a video. Let's see how would we do it. Next video.
عملنا الفيديو نشوف
important. I'm driving my car. I'm driving down the street and this person who is moving beside me, he is waving so that I would open the window, and my daughter is sitting beside me. She's afraid. What? And not him. I want to ask one question. Who is this person? Trying to make the videos credible. Our experience showed that people can tamper with the videos and manipulate with the images only, but now everything, and the idea might seem to be logical, but they will get you into the details with fake news. This person might say figures, information that are not quoted, and this is a very fierce, developed war, and it would not stop because they won't stop the war. They are afraid of the confront. We would be careful. A different performance, but of course not every bad news is fake, but you need just to think before you believe it. You need to think and check it before you believe it. As Dr. Huwaida said, this is what we want to make people understand. I would like here to say something important. They are intruding your mind, your senses, to change your, unless you will try to check before you believe, you try to think, so you need always to be careful. Thank you, Mr. Tamer. Your Excellency the President, if you have any comment on the presentations made in this session. I do not have a comment because I do not have flash memory, and I will show you. I said let's watch. Is that raising suspicions and doubts have started a long time ago, even before the social media, and I said this before. I said that I'm one of the older generation who can talk about this. This happened in the Egyptian community over 50 years. We always have people who raise doubts and suspicions about everything. If it is arts, they raise doubts about it. If it's a good event, they doubt it. And this became part of our psychological structure. We incline, we prefer to criticize ourselves the whole time. It's true, they keep saying that these are the people who are in control of the state and they are unjust to us. So this gives the impression that there is a feeling of discrimination. Achieve justice between each other, between the state institutions, between the citizens, so that there would be no such feeling of injustice. And our general public opinion and impression would be a balanced one, not ready. In 2011, we were not ready for the development that happened then, so the country moved. because the social platforms and the channels started working, and the very pure young people moved. I've never said it before. I will tell you one mistake that we have paid for and we will pay for. In 2011, no dams were built over the river, would have been built over the river Nile, except because of 2011. If it was not dangerous, I'm saying it because what would be even more dangerous is if you would repeat it again. If the Egyptian national security and the pretext of national security, one of the principles I decided to work on is that I would stop talking about this, and I will frankly than anything if we did not talk. What did I mention only 2011? Because I've only mentioned one point. And you are trying to tell me now, solve the problem now, Sisi, and get us the water. It's you who did it. I'm not sad, I'm just telling you that the social networks in 2011 contributed to forging the awareness of the people, saying that the problems in Egypt would be solved by doing this. So we moved, and when we did it, we paid a dear price. This would never have happened. I'm only talking about one thing. I could in US dollars in those 4 or 5 years, except because of 20 practical results that we have been through for 2. Aren't you worried about your army, your senior, junior soldiers, to be worried that their leaders will be a very sensitive institution to any misbehavior, especially if this is said about the commanders? The point of strength between me and the people of Egypt is the confidence between confidence. How to destroy the confidence? I mean, not to talk. Plead to me not to talk. I'm trying to change this and say that this person who you believe is untruthful. This is very dangerous. Every old woman who is praying for me at home, how would I leave her worried?
اسيبها محتاره ازاي تقول ايه الحكايه بتاعتك انت ايه
and keep her thinking what are you like that or like this?
الحاجات اللي اتقالت دي
what was mentioned about you is true? Did you do it or not? I left this, but I learned from and you is bigger than both of us. The truth is bigger than both of us.
أكبر مني أنا.
A nation, for any topic that is raised session and this discussion,
احنا بندور على ايه؟
and I learned what are we looking for.
انجاز
Something even a terrorist attack or something similar to this every time.
رجعنا من حته من مشوار
If you would come from an achievement or inaugurating a project, you need to find a campaign following it. And I'm saying this to the Egyptians
ياخدوا بالهم
so that they would be careful,
او مننا لا ياخدوا بالهم من بلدهم.
to be careful and look after their
كل
country.
اللي موجود ده امر مؤقت.
There is our country, you, the future of your sons and daughters.
يعني اللي حصل في اوعوا تفتكروا ان
Chance.
يستخدم ويستفاد منه في ان هو زي ما بقول كده يفقدكم.
Things might be used to make you lose self-confidence
انك تصدق
and make you believe the wrong thing that might not be there, rather than believing the truth. No project of our projects was inaugurated without such a campaign afterwards. Is not the achievement of one person or a government, it's the achievement of a whole nation, a nation that believed.
أنا بكلمكم بجد. أمة صدقت. فأنت يا فندم من فضلك لو سمحتي. يا فندم لو سمحتي.
Excuse me.
بس يعني من غير أسماء.
Without names.
من غير أسماء. فالطرح اللي بيطرح أو الموضوعات اللي بيتم عملها زي ما قال الزملاء كده.
As the colleagues said, the things that are mentioned might be truthful. Yes, it's true.
حالة وفاة كانت.
And we postponed the inauguration for 3 or 4 days.
يعمل في أهل بيته كده. نصدقه. المدفن ده. طب صحيح. قالت لي نبوس ايديك ما تقولوش. لكن انا عشان
the different institutions pleaded this is false. These are all lies. Have talked about this, maybe this is the case, but each time
استخير ربنا في كل امر.
I pray to God to guide me,
وده امر شغلني.
and this is something that preoccupied me.
بتهزوا علاقة كبيرة.
Because by doing so you are shaking a relationship that was formed over 7 years.
مادام انتوا عايزين تسمعوا كلام من ده. فقالوا لي تحب تتغدى ايه؟
They told me, what would you like to have for lunch? I asked why. They said because I told me neither me nor people working in the presidency would have lunch at the expense of the state.
عايزين تسمعوا كلام من ده.
Would you like all the gifts I received are equal to the museum of the belongings of the president. Would you like to listen to this? Over the past 2 weeks, aim mainly at destroying your hope, confidence. They are saying that the number of followers are not that big, but these should be reassured.
شريف
Your son is honest and devoting.
زي ما قلت كده
As I said,
ده مش رد على حد.
I'm not replying to anyone. I'm just emphasizing
معروفة عني
meanings and values people have known a very long time about myself. This army knows this about me when you tell them that your high commander is not like
قصور رئاسية. أمال إيه؟
for the presidential palaces. Yes, I've constructed presidential palaces and I will build others.
أنا بعمل دولة جديدة.
I'm not doing this for myself.
هو أنتوا فاكرين لما تتكلموا بالباطل
When you think that you would say wrong things, would you make me afraid? No, I would do.
بس مش بعمله ليه؟
I'm not doing this for myself, not in my
أنا خايف. اسمعوا بس، أنا مش زعلان لأن أنا متوقع ده والكلام ده ما انتهاش.
power, so I'm not sad. What I want is that you would be just confident, reassured, and may God only change us to be better. Nothing but become better. Don't worry.
ما بنسمحش أبدا في مؤسسات الدولة
In the state institutions
مش كويس ونستمر معاه.
to be bad people, but we would never encourage, accept, or be tolerant with him.
فأرجو إن أنا بالإجابة دي.
So I wish that by this answer, without getting into details, because for 10 days they have been pleading not to talk, and I totally understand their position, but again I'm saying that the relation between me and the people is built on confidence. If someone would destroy this confidence, then this is the more dangerous. Would increase. I'm building in the administrative capital a state that the whole world would see. Egypt is not a small country.
أنا بكلمكم بجد والله. أنتوا فاكرين مصر شوية
I'm being honest. Do you think that Egypt is a small country?
أنا بعمل مدينة فنون وثقافة.
I am العلمين city.
بقى النهارده يبقى القصور اللي موجودة في مصر.
Would the palaces in Egypt, Muhammad Ali Pasha's palaces, be the only palaces we have in Egypt?
ويقول لك الحقوا فلوس الشعب وقناة السويس.
And they would say the money of the people and the Suez Canal and these trivial things that are being sent. Egypt is a very big country. It's a big country with you. And it deserves to be considered as a big country. Next year, when we come to inaugurate 14 cities, we know that Egypt is big with you, your sacrifices, reform or the administrative reform. This is something that we all deserve, and I hope that I did not deviate a lot from what you said, and I wish that Director Tamer would make an episode every day so that the state of Egypt would be always strong. I said this and I'm reiterating it. No one would attack Egypt directly. Why? For several reasons.
طب اعمل ايه طيب؟ احنا مخبيين كل حاجة. ايه رأيكم بقى؟
We are hiding everything.
والله العظيم عشان بس ما يعرفوا.
I swear to God. criticizing, attacking it.
لا 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 ده جيش وطني شريف.
It's an honest national army.
وانا قلت مرة قبل كده.
And I said before,
جيش وطني شريف.
it's a national strong army, and its strength emanates information or news, some of which is true, would make you attack and criticize such a big institution. The army has constructed is here to correct me. How many years were needed for the construction of these roads? Projects were about people and their integrity, while we have with us thousands of companies and contractors working, and they all have millions of pounds. The press, the media would all keep hiding. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, the President. Thank you, the participants. By this, we come to the end of this session, and we will take a break. And
تحت رعاية السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية.